Hello, my name is Pooja. Welcome to a new episode of Around the World. In this program, we talk about important international news. In today's episode, we will talk about Maldives election 2023 from India's perspective. We will also try to understand how this election will determine the supremacy of India or China in the Indian Ocean. Significantly, elections will be held for the post of President of Maldives in September 2023. These elections will be for the top post of Maldives, but it will have a deep impact on India and China. The political leadership of the Maldives elected through these elections will determine whether China or India will be the special friend of Maldives for the next 5 years. On the other hand, the strategic location of Maldives in the Indian Ocean is extremely important for India's internal and external relations. And on the other hand, Maldives is an important point in China's string of pearls policy to counter India. In this regard, Maldives' close location to strategic shipping lanes in the Indian Ocean has made the region the center of the Indo-China battle for supremacy. Therefore, the post-election leadership of Maldives will matter for both India and China. But the political fervor has increased in the Maldives even before these elections. Actually, about 10 months are left for the election of the new President of Maldives. But before that, Abdulla Yameen's jail term has created a political stir in the Maldives. Actually, former President Abdulla Yameen was facing serious allegations of corruption and money laundering. In this regard, a Maldivian criminal court sentenced Abdulla Yameen to 11 years in prison on 25th December 2022. He has also been fined $5 million as he was held guilty of accepting bribes from a private company. Earlier, in 2019, Abdulla Yameen was fined $5 million and 5 years in prison for embezzling $1 million from the treasury. However, Yameen's sentence was commuted to house arrest in 2020, and he was eventually freed a few months later. After his release, Yameen, the half-brother of former dictator Maumoon Abdul Qayyum, launched a campaign against India in the Maldives. Further, to fuel opposition to India, Yameen returned to active politics and became the presidential candidate of the Progressive Party of Maldives in 2023 elections. Yameen's supporters have protested against his sentence to prevent unrest. The Maldivian police also arrested some people as a precautionary measure. In this regard, Mohammad Jamil Ahmed, former Vice President of Maldives and head of Abdulla Yameen's legal team, has stated that he will appeal against this decision in a higher court without any further delay. Notably, Indo-Maldives relations deteriorated considerably during the tenure of the Yameen administration from 2013 to 2018. Actually, Yameen gave an ultimatum to India to remove both its helicopters from the strategically important Lamu and Addu atolls. Consequently, tensions escalated between Maldives and India. Furthermore, Yameen's pro-China attitude had made India apprehensive. However, after Ibrahim Mohammed Solih became President of Maldives in September 2018, his government showed interest in strengthening ties between the two countries. The Solih government not only announced the India First foreign policy, but also tried to implement this policy on the ground. Significantly, India-Maldives relations were extremely cordial for the last 4 years. Meanwhile, both countries not only signed several projects and treaties related to various sectors, but also curbed China's expansion in the Maldives. However, India remains apprehensive in the wake of anti-India protests such as the India Out led by Abdulla Yameen and his pro-China stand. So let's try to understand the significance of the presidential elections in Maldives from India's perspective. We will also try to understand the importance of Maldives for India to curb China's influence in South Asia. As we have already informed you that the strategic location of Maldives is the main reason for the strategic competition between India and China. Therefore, both the countries are always ready to extend their cooperation with the Maldives. Actually, the politics of Maldivian political parties and leaders revolve around the cooperation and opposition of China and India. On the other hand, India and China also try to influence the politics of Maldives in their favor. Significantly, India and Maldives are member countries of SAARC and the Indian Ocean Rim Association and share each other's economic and strategic interests. On the contrary, China is expanding its influence in South Asia through its special friend Pakistan and economically weak Sri Lanka. In such a scenario, India would want that the current President Ibrahim Mohammed Solih should return to power, and his second consecutive term should be even better from the point of view of India-Maldives relations. It is a different issue that the Solih administration has never presented itself as an anti-China government despite having good relations with India. In general, Maldives has maintained bilateral ties with China, but Ibrahim Solih's Maldivian Democratic Party has described China's ambitious One Belt, One Road as dangerous for the Maldives. It suggests that the Solih government is not ready for signing a free trade agreement with China. In this scenario, India will be directly benefited. Notably, Mohammad Nasheed, who is a prominent leader of the Maldivian Democratic Party, has strongly opposed closer ties with China. In many of his public speeches, Mohammad Nasheed has termed China as an economic predator. He has often expressed a concern that China may trap the Maldives in its own debt trap as it did with Sri Lanka. On the one hand, if Abdulla Yameen's India Out campaign succeeds and he returns to power in Maldives, then it will be a big blow to India, as Maldives is an important ally of India, despite the fact that Maldives is a small nation. On the other hand, the Yameen government will further enhance commercial cooperation with China by signing the China-Maldives Free Trade Agreement, which it had planned in its previous term. If it happens, then China will be in a better position to expand its presence in the Indian Ocean, pursue its OBOR project and continue building naval bases around the Indian coast. Let's note down the question based on today's story. Analyze the presidential elections to be held in Maldives in 2023 in view of the Maldives-India bilateral relations.